Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Apollyon. Apollyon is a really interesting character, but I think a lot of people don't realize just how powerful he was when he was first released, and it was just due to the fact that his void item was actually glitched with some of the other active items in the game. So what happened, you might be asking? Well, essentially whenever you suck up an active item, you're able to use it again after 6 room charges, but there are some active items in the game which really don't work as expected. So you have something like a blue candle, which doesn't have standard charges, but you also have some items which get used whenever you use them, so there are single-time active item usages, and essentially when you use those, they're gone from your inventory. But if you suck them up with a void before the patch, what would end up happening, you would always have that active item in your void and you would be able to use it multiple times. So what you could do is you could suck up Diplopia, and then you would actually have the ability to duplicate not only every consumable in the room, but also every single item in the room, every 6 room on a 6 room charge. And that's ridiculous if you think about it. It's actually really powerful, and I know that when they changed it back so that it did get consumed as soon as you use the void, I know there was a huge backlash. People didn't really agree with this, and to some extent I understand why people were upset. Obviously, changing a single player game and making these balance changes to a synergy which is both very fun to use and maybe quite a bit more common than any other, it's just one of those things which I feel like the backlash is warranted, or at least I understand it, but I really don't think it makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, first of all, getting a Diplopia or just any other active item which has a single room charge that makes it broken with the void is way too common, and because there are restock machines and essential in every run you can get a donation machine as well, there's just no excuse for you not to buy Diplopia whenever you have the void charge. And of course what that ends up happening is now suddenly you have a very breaking synergy with one particular character, which not only makes the character much stronger than he's supposed to be, but it also makes it that whenever you keep up the void, this is the optimal strategy to do. And if you're resorting to something like the daily runs, you basically always have to seek that item out to actually break the game. And of course they change it, they patch it, and now when you use it, like I said before, that one active item gets used, and that's basically it. And that's awesome, and that's really good. And what I wish people would take away from this is that even though it's a single player game, I don't think it's unwarranted to change. I don't think there should be major balancing decisions, so there shouldn't be something like, oh, you know, nerf the damage of Brimstone because we feel like it's too powerful. In this case, I wouldn't say that's entirely warranted, because I would say that Brimstone, first of all, it's a special item and there's nothing wrong with some items being a bit stronger than each other, but I feel like some items need some, I would say, quality of life changes more than anything else, and I'm all for that, and especially some of the broken combos which are obviously unintended, like I think in this case that was. I think it's warranted, and I feel like the developer should do more of that, because it's just nice to actually introduce some freshness into the game and just change interactions that we're used to, but maybe don't really work as intended, because I bet there's a ton of them in Isaac, but people just don't acknowledge them, because first of all, we might not even be aware that they are glitched, or maybe they're not working as intended, but also in other case, I do imagine the developers have other things going on for them, and just changing maybe a 5% chance of something happening isn't really warranted enough for a patch on its own. So I hope that some of these changes do actually get introduced in Booster Pack 2 or any other subsequent patches that come after that. One thing you have to realize is why I'm talking about all of this is that a Booster Pack 1 added a new item called Mystery Gift. So if you don't know what that is, essentially it's a shop item that costs 15 cents. When you buy it, you can use it in any room, and it gives you an item from that pool of the room that you used it in. So if you use it in a treasure room, you would get a pool or an item from the treasure room pool, and that sounds like a great deal, because now suddenly you can go to the devil deal, you can use it there, or an angel deal, and that is maybe offset by the fact, or at least balanced by the fact, that there's a small chance that whenever you use it, regardless of the room that you use it in, there's a chance that you're gonna get a lump of coal or the poop. So there's some chance that just makes it that it's not completely overpowered, that even sometimes when you do buy it, it can still result in a bad roll, and a lump of coal isn't even that bad of an item, so I wouldn't even say that it's bad necessarily, but it does just reduce that little bit of chance of just being always powerful, and you having to save it for maybe the best angel deal or maybe the best devil deal. And why that's important is, once you use it, it gets used up, and you lose the active item. It's one of those single-time use active items, but I guess what they forgot to do was fix that interaction with the void that every single other item in the game has, and what that ends up happening is, if you suck up the mystery gift with the void, it results in you being able to use the mystery gift every 6 rooms, and it doesn't ever disappear from your inventory. So what that results in essentially is infinite items every 6 rooms, and because you can get, or because of how Mystery Gift works, you can essentially force a lot of the items into existence. So if you use it in the shop, just keep using it in shop, there's just bound to happen that you're gonna get something like a blank card out of it, or maybe even a Forget-Me-Now if you use it in something like the Secret Room, and it's just it's just one of those things which I feel really messes with the balance of the game, because if you don't know about this strategy or this unintended interaction, and I can't blame you if you don't, because there's no indication that it should work like that, because every single other active item in the game works differently, then you're basically gimping yourself just because you don't have this knowledge. And I know some people didn't abuse this because they think it's a glitch and they really don't want to play unfair, and completely respect that, but there's also a subset of the population which just didn't know about this interaction, and I really can't blame them for not knowing it because of how obscure it is. But at the same time, it does give advantage to all of those who did use it, or at least who did abuse it to some extent, to get a really powerful run. And what's maybe even a bit worse is that I've read that people who didn't know about this interaction actually ended up having a much worse run overall, which is just a bummer on so many different levels. And I do feel kind of bad for using and abusing it, but I just did feel like I wanted to point it out and just to show you really the power that this strategy has. You can imagine that if this was left in the game and it was intentional with other active items as well, which are a single time use items, the game's balance would be thrown on whack whenever you would be playing as Apollyon, and it would just be that constant look for a Diplopia item or maybe the Mystery Gift to really get that breaking run. And I hope it's fixed, and I know a lot of people maybe aren't on board with me, and maybe that interaction can still remain in single player, because at least in that you can opt not to use it, but in dailies I feel really like it has no place to exist, because it really locks you down to one particular strategy and just makes it to be a very unfun time for everyone involved. And even me, who's just basically abusing and getting every benefit of this strategy, or at least this interaction, which is, like I said, unintended, then even I feel bad, because even though I'm getting really powerful items, I'm still stuck in this loop where I know that I don't deserve it in some sense, and I'm just basically doing whatever I can to get through these rooms, and I'm just trying to get a high score possible. And in some regards, I know a lot of people do enjoy that. They try and enjoy breaking the game in every single way, even if that does include glitches. But personally, I'm not really a fan of that game style. I definitely think maybe there should be a separate category. Of course, that's just impossible with the technology we have to detect glitches and whatnot, because it's hard to say what's intended and what isn't unintended, like I said before. But I know a lot of people don't enjoy this, and that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say here, that I feel like I hope that it gets fixed, because it's just broken and just gives you a really powerful run for basically no work at all. And not just a powerful run, there's also no way you can't break this game, because if you just use it enough times in the Secret Room, there's like 19 items in there, especially on the Void, because you have so many rooms which you can actually charge it up with. It's just bound to happen that you're gonna get that blank card, or you're gonna get that Forget-Me-Now. And when you do that, you can just break the game that way, do another Void floor, and just get a ton of ridiculous amount of points, which really nothing can be stopped. And I'm really surprised that when I finished this run, there weren't any scores which were in the top 60,000s or whatever. I think the highest score I've seen was 54,000, which is very surprising to me, because, again, I would really imagine people breaking, or like I said before, maybe a lot of people didn't really know about this at the time, or maybe some people who are or who are very good at the game have yet to play. But at the time of me finishing this, even though I did take a lot of unnecessary damage, I think I was second, and then I got pushed back to third, and it just, again, it's just ridiculous. I don't know what else to say, because I feel like it's one of those things which is just inherently unfair, and there's no solace in me even abusing the strategy, because in some sense, it is abusing it, and but then again, it's a part of the game, so it's hard to draw the line, and it really, I guess that's the moral dilemma here. It's a part of the game, obviously. It's not like I'm hacking or cheating the game. It's something that exists in the game, so does that make it unfair? I don't know. I think that's always been a question in multiple competitive games, which hasn't really been resolved yet. This should be something that's defined by some committee, I guess, but I guess we don't really have a Binding of Isaac committee on what's fair and what isn't, so it's really up to our judgment to decide. I'm not gonna do it again if the opportunity presents itself, but I feel like in this case it was a good idea at least to show it off. Just as maybe as an extra added bonus at the end, I could have opted out to cheese Delirium and just exit at the end, but I felt because I already cheesed this game so hard with using Mystery Gift in the Void, I might as well go and fight and try Delirium, and I did lose, I think, 3,000 points, if not even a bit more, by doing that. So maybe that's my karma punishment for doing it. It's kind of my own version of punishment of why I decided to go fight Delirium, and it didn't pay off at all. And I think because of that I might lose the top 3 spot, but honestly I'm not even mad. If I'm gonna have a top 3 spot, I don't wish it was just due to a glitch. I also wish that I played relatively well, which I feel like I did in this run. I definitely could have done a lot more with some of the strategies that we had going on, but hey, what can you do? That's Isaac sometimes. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.